Sorry, let me just.
Next into the tank is a young man ready to spend a weekend in Vegas with his boys.
Hi, babe. I'm here today asking for one weekend in Vegas with my boys in exchange for 2 date nights at your favorite restaurant, Cheesecake Factory. Imagine a nice, relaxing house to yourself. I'm talking relaxing bubble bath, your favorite shows and activities, and even time to yourself, if you know what I mean. That's why supporting me to go on this trip with my boys is also a win for you. So, babe, is it cool if I go to Vegas with the homies next weekend?
Nice job.
I'd like to pass out some samples.
Yum. So good.
What's your favorite?
So tell me a little bit about this. How'd you come up with this?
About 2 years ago, it was my best friend Tyler's birthday. Everyone went down to San Diego to celebrate. I unfortunately had to decline the invitation, seeing as we had only been together for 3 months at that point. I didn't want you to think that I was just another douchebag ditching you for the boys. Sorry. It was a really hard time for me watching the Instagram stories and social media posts of all my boys having fun without me. You know, having been together for almost 2 years now, you and I were both secure enough to understand the importance of independence in this relationship.
I mean, I love the story. I really do. I get it. But what I can't wrap my head around is this valuation. I mean, a wild weekend in Vegas is not a small ask for any girlfriend.
I'm flexible. I'm looking for a strategic partner. I'm trying to make a deal.
There's nothing proprietary about this. I mean, what's stopping me from going to Vegas and doing the same thing with my girlfriends?
Nothing.
Nothing? So I can call up Jessica right now.
Not Jessica. That's like your skankies.
Oh, and Tyler's not yours?
Okay, yeah, he's a boy, but he's my friend, okay? And that's where the trust comes in. You're gonna have to trust me if we want to make a deal.
All right, you know what? I like you.
I would hope so. I'm your boyfriend.
I'm gonna make you an offer.
His girlfriend is still in, but she's a little concerned that Tyler might be too much of a boy.
All right, I'll give you the weekend in Vegas with your boys for the 2 dinners at my favorite restaurant, but I mean, those 2 dinners barely get me out of bed in the morning as it is. I'm a premium girlfriend. I'm not just any girlfriend. So what I want is every major holiday spent with my family for the next year. After 12 months, that goes away. And then I just want Thanksgiving in perpetuity with my family. And you have to pretend to like my dad.
Oh, come on. I already do that.
No, you actually have to have a conversation with him. You can't just nod your head with a White Claw in your hand.
If I have to sit through another Thanksgiving rant about how the earth is flat, I'm gonna lose it. The guy's off his
This
rocker.
is what I'm talking about. It has to be fair for me.
Okay.
You can counter.
Well, I appreciate the offer. Would you be willing to do Easter instead of Thanksgiving?
No.
I'd like to step out and make a phone call if that's all right.
Sure. But, you know, this is the tank. The offer might not be here when you get back.
I understand.
Nicer to think about.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Yo, great call. Great call. All right, let me call you back. I'll hit you back. Again, I appreciate the offer. What about that time you went to Miami with your girls?
That was a bachelorette
Oh,
party.
and that wasn't just a bunch of crazy girls getting after it. How'd that marriage work out?
That is not the
I'm
point.
doing the mature thing. I'm trying to make this work for the both of us. You didn't ask when you went on that trip. You just got up and left. You see my problem?
Okay. I'll take away the Thanksgiving in perpetuity, but you have to answer me right now.
I'd like to make a counter. One more thing I'd like to say. I'd just like to make one counter.
Okay, what?
I'll take that deal if you also do that thing I like tonight.
Done.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
I'm gonna call my boys now.
Good luck.
I was so nervous when she started bringing up her dad because she always does that when she wants to win the argument because she knows we don't get along. The royalty deal with the past holidays, I'm so glad we were able to come to terms with that. And yeah, I guess I gotta get packing. I'm going to Vegas with the boys.
Oh, we're going to Vegas. So, so basically, that's it. That's just to loosen up the nerves of having to do your own pitch. So basically, a pitch is just you just have to state your idea, your plans, and you have your collaborator or your investor to agree with it. So you've seen the video the case videos that you have, of which it was too serious. You had a lot of equity, meaning shares involved in terms of ownership, but it doesn't have to be always like that. So a pitch could be just as simple as just presenting your idea and letting your investor or your collaborator or your partner get on board. So as I have said, if you are doing your thesis right now, if you have your this good idea, how would you like to develop it? So that in that way you could also pitch it. So the one way of doing that is, for example, just you are to share your friend this idea and to get him on board. That's already a pitch. So these are just simple pitches. So I was just trying to loosen up the nerve, and maybe I'd like to get some comments from the audience. May comment ba? Meron na bang class EA dito? Maybe someone from EA? Or-
Hello, sir.
Yes, Mr. Clark, is that you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes po.
Uh,
Would you like to share your thoughts?
ah, sa katong nga case, sir, kay sugay lang yun, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
No
sir.
no further comments. No more. Who could be your potential customer later on as you progress with your career? So allow me to share my screen. Can I get a confirmation if my if you could see the my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see your
Yes, sir.
screen.
Okay. Sorry. I think this.
quickly delivered to those who need it. Those on the ground, as we know the situation better. Projects and programs can be easily monitored by constituents. And finally, good news, combined with the CDMS and other site-specific data, there is the greater opportunity for evidence-based planning and policymaking. So, just how much of an increase in national tax allotment for NGOs are we talking about? For 2022, early estimates from the Department of Finance put the increase in NATA by about 28% or roughly 234.3 billion. The projected nominal increase for a hypothetical first-class province would be almost a billion pesos. For a first-class city, it's 480 million. For a first-class municipality, it's 228 million. That's really a lot. Now we go to our reality bits. Even if there will be an increase in the 2022 NATA amongst LGUs, there are mandatory minimum and maximum allocations that they must follow under the local government code. Like first, the cap on personal services to up to 45% of annual income for first to third class LGUs and 55% for fourth to sixth class LGUs. Another example of caps or floors is there's a minimum of 5% of the total budget for gender and development and a similar 5% floor for the disaster risk reduction management fund. Another example is the allocation of at least 20% of the NATA to the so-called development fund, which essentially are the LGU's infrastructure and capital expenditures. Some might say that this mandatory allocation limits the flexibilities of LGUs to effectively respond to what is actually needed by the community. But I would tend to agree that some of these minimums and maximums can temper the potential abuse that might happen with regard to the LGU budget. Can you imagine if, say, 75% of the total budget for the year is all spent on personnel and the remaining 75% is split for programs and capital expenditures? But now that we are strongly advocating for data-driven policy making, we can use site-specific data so that resources that we go into LGUs can really be utilized to answer the particular needs of their constituents and be applied to, let's say, how the 20% development fund can be utilized. A quick look, for instance, at access to potable water of all barangays will easily guide planners and policymakers where water systems are most needed. Data on underweight and stunted children, which are regularly collected by barangay health workers, can be used to target where heightened school feeding programs can be implemented. Um, Another reality bit is the mandatory and optional position within the LGU bureaucracy. This is a happy reality bit of information insofar as our desire to have data-driven policies at the local level is concerned. Because of the passage of Republic Act 11315, otherwise known as the Community-Based Monitoring System Law, cities and municipalities are mandated to have a statistician in their office plantilla. We do hope that LGUs make an earnest effort to hire the appropriate statistician to have interoperable statistical systems, not just across offices within a specific LGU, but statistics that can be shared, data that can talk to each other from the barangay, town, municipal, provincial, regional, all the way to the national level. Now, for some realities that really bite. Sure, for 2022, there will be an increase in the absolute amount of NATAs that LGUs can have. But an examination of COA reports for 2015 to 2018 by the World Bank showed that nearly half of LGU's capital outlays remain unspent. A 20% increase in capital outlay is projected to increase underspending by 15 percentage points for provinces and cities and 24 percentage points for municipalities. So the question of absorptive capacity is While sure, NATA in absolute amount will increase by 2022, but for 2023 and 2024, it will definitely fall. Why? Can anybody guess? Well, the national government's tax collection has fallen as a result of the pandemic and the economic slowdown that ensued. Members of the local government local finance committee are well aware that the basis for computing the NATA is 3 years back. So for 2022, we are looking at 2019 national government tax collection. 2019 is a pre-COVID year, and our economy is still going strong at the time. But 2022 and 2021, 2020 and 2021 are COVID years, and that's when we had the economic slowdown. And not only are national tax collections down, local revenues collected by LGUs are likewise extremely impaired because of the pandemic. So later, laanin natin sa workshop how LGUs would cope with the reduction of the absolute amount of their NPAs for 2023 and most likely for 2024 as well. Using data-driven principles, how can LGUs strengthen capacities to raise their own revenues? Now for the TADAS. Executive Order 138 has put in place the devolution framework that would guide both national government agencies and local governments in implementing the Mandanas ruling. Essentially, it says that national government agencies will just steer, meaning they will provide the policy direction, but the rowing or heavy lifting will have to be done by local governments. In preparation for the LGU's devolution transition plans, again, it is important to use data-driven principles. Do we have enough personnel that can deliver the goods and perform the functions of the different functions? Do we have enough resources to fund salaries, capital outlay, operational funds for programs? If we do not have enough, how can we close the fiscal gap? The other questions are we really spending the funds in the most cost-efficient way? Are we collecting revenues in the most cost-effective way? And how do we measure success in the delivery of those devolved functions? Bottom line, a lot of capacities would have to be built, starting from generating real-time, correct, and accessible data so that we are able to establish a baseline from which performance can be measured. What can people do? I think the pandemic has brought to fore the reality that people should be active members of their own community, to be real development partners of their elected barangay, captains, concejales, vice mayors, local vice governors, and governors. Mindsets are starting to change. It's not enough to vote for your local vets and afterwards just let them be on their own to govern. We also need to change the mindsets of elected government officials who think that winning elections is a franchise for them to just do whatever they want to do and no longer consult with the other development challenges have provided windows of opportunity for these transformative principles to take root. Members of CSOs and Academe can be active members of the local special bodies and even most importantly, the local development council. Nakilahok tayo. They can help design data gathering instruments. They can access, analyze, and suggest how LGU's budget can be allocated using site-specific data. And they can help develop performance indicators to see if targets are achieved and if devolution is working. Dito po muna nagtatapos ang aking presentasyon. Hope you can use these trigger inputs in the ensuing workshops and in designing responsive budgets and tax measures in your own communities.
Thank you so much for that. So that would serve as our introduction to our industry academic ecosystem. Please help me welcome Miss Katrina Gratuito. Ma'am, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Salamat, Nash, for that introduction. Although I have to make a disclaimer, no, I am not, um, I do not claim to be an expert on innovation, but I want to share my experience so far on my experience, working with government, industry, and academe. So, good evening to everyone. Let me just share my screen. I was told by Nash that this is not so formal, no? Not so formal.
Kapihan po. Kapihan
This
session.
is a kapihan session. So, I hope you have your coffees with you. Let me quickly share my screen. Sorry. Sorry, hindi masyadong sanay sa Google Meet. Wait. Ayan. Actually, I've been working in the innovation landscape in the Philippine innovation landscape since 2019 pa lang, so roughly 3 years. But I would like to share my experience in implementing our program, the Regional Inclusive Innovation Centers. Hold on. Nasaan na ba yung slide ko? Bakit ayaw niya mag-share? I'll just share my whole screen na lang siguro. Ay, sorry. Hindi pala pwede. Pwede ba mag-share ng ano lang dito? Application? Hindi
Yes. Yes, Miss Tati, I think.
Parang hindi lumalabas yung presentation ko sa share. Nash, pwede ko bang i-send sa'yo?
Sige po, just send it to
Pwede
me
ko
po.
Teka, wait lang ha. Wait, i-send ko sa'yo. Pwedeng Viber na lang. Sorry sa interruption.
Sige.
Ito na lang. I'll use this.
Let me share my screen po.
Nakita mo ba, Nash?
Can you see the screen po?
Ayan. Yes, you can see it. Bakit sa akin hindi ma-share?
Kailangan i-pass lang boss. Probably.
Ayan. Sige. First slide tayo, Nash.
Wait po, Miss Tati. Let me just...
Ayan. Again, good evening. I would, to start off my sharing or my presentation, I want to introduce you to the program where I work for. I work for the USAID funded Science, Technology, Research, and Innovation for Development program. So, the STRIDE program is a USAID Philippines initiative that has a goal of strengthen science, technology, research, and innovation capacity for inclusive growth in the Philippines. It builds upon the shared vision with the Philippine government's 2017 to 2022 Philippine Development Plan, in which self-sustaining, inclusive development can be achieved by promoting science, technology, and creative arts to enhance innovation and creative capacity. And consistent to the USAID programming na Journey to Self-Reliance Framework, the program or the STRIDE program supports key Philippine institutions in the implementation of their own innovative solutions to achieve the country's development goals. If you can see in your screen, there are 3 intermediate goals. Tatlong buckets yung work namin sa STRIDE. IR1, Intermediate Result 1, is improved higher education capacity for innovation. So, kami sa STRIDE are working with higher education institutions or universities to increase capacity for innovation and to match the parang capacity of the students to the needs of the industry. The second bucket or the second intermediate result is the improved regulatory environment for innovation. So we also work with government policymakers so that innovation could be more, kumbaga, streamlined in the country. And lastly, this is the bucket I work for. It's the improved government capacity for innovation. So, next slide, Nash. Next slide. Ay, sorry. Pwede pong next slide. Yung Regional Inclusive Innovation Centers. Ay, yan. Ay, sorry. Yung may sa taas. Yan. So, regional, so, I'm done introducing no, yung program where I work for. I would like to introduce you now to the parang main initiative that we implement in order to increase yung innovation capacity and facilitating linkages and partnerships between government, industry, and academic stakeholders in the regions. So in 2018, if you can see in your screen, meron ako dyan picture ng roadmap. It's the Inclusive Philippine Innovation and Entrepreneurship Roadmap. I encourage you to read the roadmap. You'll learn a lot about innovation and the role of STEM students, STEM graduates in the innovation landscape, not only of the country but globally. And in 2018, this Inclusive Philippine Innovation and Entrepreneurship Roadmap, we call that IFER for short. It was launched during the parang first Inclusive Innovation Conference ng DTI, no? And it outlines the vision and goals of the government for a more strengthened Philippine innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So you will recognize in the screen in my presentation that innovation and entrepreneurship goes hand in hand, and you will see that later in the presentation. So a key recommendation of the roadmap is building the regional inclusive innovation centers, or the RRICs or the RICs. These rakes are considered as the cornerstone of the Philippine Inclusive Innovation Industrial Policy, or the ICUBS, aiming to increase the country's ability to innovate and drive economic transformation. So, may mga policies din na din tayo in place, no, that drives innovation in the country. Isa nga doon yung ICUBS, and recently na-approve yung Philippine Innovation Act as well as the Innovative Startups Act. So the IFER, it envisions the RICS, yun nga yung kanya major recommendation, to be a platform for convergence of all the different actors in the local innovation space, leading to a highly coordinated innovation system that deliver tangible impacts to regional economic development. So ano ba tong what comprises of this innovation ecosystems? Ang major dito ay yung GIA, or yung triple helix nating sinasabi, yung government, industry, and academe. In the previous, yung RICS has been launched since 2018, and Cagayan de Oro is one of the pilot regions where this initiative was implemented. And our recent milestone last 2020, the Philippines achieved the highest rank natin sa Global Innovation Index, yung 50th place, and then in 2021, we were ranked parang 51st, which demonstrate what we can achieve, no, through the strategic coordination among government agencies and productive collaborations between public and private sectors. Reflected ito, yung ranking natin sa GII reflects yung efforts natin ng DTI, ng DOST, ng DICT, ng industry chambers, ng industry groups, MSMEs, and the Academe to build regional inclusive innovation centers and bring together stakeholders from government, industry, and academe to collaborate and commercialize innovations. Gusto ko ding ibida na sa Global Innovation Index 2020, Cagayan de Oro was cited, specifically yung Oro Best Innovation Program, where Nash and I work together. It was cited in the report as part of the key activities that contributed to the rise ng ranking natin globally in terms of innovation. Next slide, Nash. Ayan. So the RICS, as you can see in your screen, harmonizes local resources to advance understanding of of local innovation needs and promote better collaboration and engagement of local stakeholders to yield productive collaborations toward competitiveness and economic development in the region. So, ang sentro, no, kung makikita nyo, hindi siya the likes of yung top-down from national level implemented to the regions or to the grounds. Pero this originates from the regions and it harmonizes kung ano yung available resources natin for innovation and entrepreneurship as well as yung available talents na meron ang region. Through the RICS, we intend to leverage these resources and investments being made by the government, academe, the industry at large, the civil societies for innovation towards enabling more entrepreneurs to become more competitive. Next slide. This is just some statistics to date. 8 regions are implementing the RICS. In 2018, 4 pilot sites were established in Cagayan de Oro, Cebu, Davao, and Legazpi. But with the successes and gains dito sa mga pilot areas, it was expanded in 2020 sa Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Zamboanga Peninsula. And I just want to highlight na ang Cagayan de Oro has been moving advanced, no, sa when it terms to promoting and advancing innovation kasi just last year 2020 ang Northern Mindanao ay nag-launch ng kanilang second innovation program, yung Iliganize sa Iligan. Leveraging industry, government, academe, networks, and inclusive communities. Nakalimutan ko yung ipasensya na babalikan ko. Yun yung second innovation program ng Northern Mindanao, complementing yung Oro Best Innovation Program ng Cagayan de Oro that significantly contributes to the many innovation milestones of the region. I hope, let me know, no, kung medyo mabilis or kung meron kayong questions, please feel free to interrupt me anytime. Next. In implementing the regional inclusive innovation centers, we adopt an ecosystem-wide approach to bridge yung gap sa innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So grouped siya into 3 buckets, 3 important areas. Mapping key innovation actors, initiatives, and efforts. Linking innovation players in government, academe, and industry through strategic dialogues. I think you fit here in this L part. And then 3, aligning key programs and services of the government or in the region towards industry needs. Through this, we have made information on innovation more available and accessible, helping our partners in having more meaningful dialogue towards stronger innovation. So, under mapping, next slide. Very basic, we map or major ecosystem stakeholders from government, academe, and industry in the regions or locally are identified and their roles are defined. The information or the data we get from the mapping actually informs the linkages and alignment efforts. The mapping actually is very basic, no? Kasi para lang tayong gumagawa siguro parang ng directory. Well, at least in the RICS, no, gumawa kami ng directory of available, a directory ng innovation actors and entrepreneurship stakeholders ng region. Tapos what are the available resources? Meron pang technology business incubator to help entrepreneurs in the region innovate. Meron ba diyang mga ITSOs to help with their patents, knowledge transfer office para sa technology adoption, etc. After mapping, aside from mapping, we do the linking activities. So for linkages, we multi-stakeholder and R&D workshops are conducted. These engagements facilitate discussions between local industries and universities to explore potential collaboration opportunities. These interactions are further deepened through ideation and program design workshops. So during the linking process, if you can see in your screen, no, we create platforms for creative and for collaborations in the academe and the industries so that ma-address natin no kasi maraming research available sa university, maraming talent available sa university, especially sa most if not some stays in the library, stays kumbaga unutilized by the community or by businesses. So through the ideation workshops, we hope to through the linkages activities in the RICS, we hope to create these dialogues kasi baka naman merong talent ang university, it may be their faculty, it may be their students, no, that can help yung mga businesses natin in the regions find technological solutions no to streamline their businesses and make their operations efficient and effective. An example of this, Nash, pwede mong i-jump dun sa green pastures na slide. Yan. An example of this is this. Si Green Pastures Corporation, CDO-based siya ay siguro most of you no are familiar with his products ni Green Pastures nila Sir Ray. In 2019, we met Sir Ray Paraguya no during one of our first dialogues and linking activities, yun ng ideation workshop. And we ask some academic partners to join the workshop, and we partnered him with MSU Naawan. During the dialogue, we learned na si Green Pastures pala doesn't have parang raw materials yung source niya ng spirulina. Actually, ini-import pa pala niya from China yung spirulina ginagamit niya para makapag-produce siya ng wellness products na binebenta niya, kino-commercialize niya. So malaking gastos 'yon. When we had that dialogue, no, it was facilitated through a workshop. Nalaman ni industry ni Green Pastures na meron pala sa Northern Mindanao, meron pala sa Region 10 na may capacity na mag-cultivate ng spirulina. Nandun pala yun sa MSU Naawan. So nag-usap sila. To cut the long story short, si MSU Naawan came up with an R&D project to help si Green Pastures grow or cultivate their spirulina supply locally. And that was, this is an example of a government-industry collaboration. This R&D project was then applied to a grant sa DOST Region 10 and was parang approved for roughly 2M support to continue yung R&D. And then, Nash, correct me if I'm wrong, this year, this March, magkakaroon na ng turnover, may spirulina farm na si
Yes po.
and ongoing ang
Yes
capacity
po.
building, di ba?
Yes po.
Mga
It was
staff,
around 2.9 million po yung na-approve. And
2.9.
that, yes po, na-turnover na po yung project ni MSU Naawan, na-turnover na po siya kang Green Pastures. And Green Pastures is just propagating it right now. So we'll have the turnover by March pagdating niyo.
Nice. So that's one example of an effective government-industry academic collaboration. I just want to highlight no na the resources are there and the academic, our partners from the Academe and our kumbaga the talent no na meron tayo yung mga engineers, researchers, scientists, we need those to address yung pangangailangan ng local industries natin kasi the only way no that they can be more competitive and innovative is if we work together. Nash, can you move to best friend goodies? So another example ng linking is si naku, wala yata yung extruder machine dyan. Anyway, another example ay si Best Friend Goodies. Kabatch siya ni Green Pastures, no? When we had that Industry Academe dialogue. Ito naman, ginawa ni USTP ng extruder machine para maging efficient yung pag-produce niya ng pastillas de leche na product niya. Si yung mga engineers ng USTP designed the machine for Miss Nenet, yung owner ng Best Friend Goodies, and they also received a grant from the OST. Apart from that, during the pandemic, they were also linked with the university no na sa Northern Mindanao Food Innovation Center kasi as you know the the tourism sector was heavily affected by the pandemic and close to zero yung naging income nila kasi ang produkto ni Best Friend Goodies are pasalubong goods. But then, because of there's an existing innovation program in the region or BEST, para silang nagtitriage during the pandemic, sila yung nagtitriage kung ano ba, kanino ba natin siya pwede i-link para to help them recover. Kanino ba, anong government program ba yung pwede kaya nilang ma-utilize at makakatulong sa kanila. So, si Best Friend Goodies was then linked to NMFIC and then they learned na there are ready-to-eat technologies na dinevelop ng mga food researchers ng yung university and they adopted the technology and now more than pasalubong goods, they now boast of a more diversified product portfolio. Meron na din sila ngayong planta no, to produce these things. And throughout the journey, they are supported by the government through the OST's set-up program. I want to highlight din na dun sa inclusive Filipinnovation and entrepreneurship roadmap, human resource and talent is a core, nasa front and center, actually pati core ng innovation sa country, no? Kasi who else will do it but the people, no? And sorry, let me just review yung aking pinrepare na talking points. Ayan, sorry. Oops. Hala. Anyway, ayun. Sorry, medyo mabagal ang laptop ni ate. Ayan. And according to the Inclusive Philippine Innovation and Entrepreneurship Roadmap, one of the barriers ng innovation no ay yung knowledge or lack of qualified personnel to do innovation. So I want you to kumbaga recognize the importance ng kayo bilang engineering students, no? Kasi the Philippines, according to the roadmap, the Philippines also lacks the manpower needed to support innovation and commercialization activities. Along with Vietnam, it exhibits low availability of scientists and engineers in comparison with countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, and Singapore. the country's, sabi din sa roadmap, the country's inability to produce more scientists and engineers despite having one of the highest percentage rates of science and engineering graduates suggests the absence of a healthy R&D ecosystem that would encourage these graduates to pursue research activities in the country. So I hope no I want to highlight na yung importance ninyo, the what you can contribute to advance and further yung innovation capacity natin in the region, because through innovation, ang innovation naman doesn't necessarily mean na creating something new or using AI technologies. It actually can be as simple as improving a business operation, improving a product. It doesn't have to be grand, no. It just have there should there should be an improvement. That's already an innovation. And that's what will drive economic competitiveness in our localities, competitiveness ng MSMEs, enterprises, and then eventually uh, economic transformation, economic advancement ng region and ultimately of the country. So yung I want to also to emphasize na your role as experts in the S&T field, your expertise can really be very tag dito, useful, very essential, no, especially to our um especially paglabas niyo ng university. You will you are part of the solution ng actually yun nga katulad nung nabanggit kong example kanina, yung mga enterprises natin, industries face a lot of challenges, and a lot of those can be answered through science, technology, and research. And that's what you guys do. Do, and to I think sa government side, there are a lot of services and programs that can be utilized, no. Sa DOST pa lang, uh, they have their local grants in aid na that provides funding for local R&D projects, as well as yung Cradle. Meron din ang DTI kasi with the launch of the Philippine Innovation Act and the Innovative Startups Act, meron silang Startup Development Fund, meron silang SB Corp, meron silang Incubate ang ang DOST funds, technology business incubators in the universities that you can utilize, no? And I encourage din everyone, as I mentioned kanina, innovation and entrepreneurship always hand in hand, because we believe that whatever we improve, the products the things we produce, no, the researches we do should always be commercialized. It shouldn't stay in the shelf. So we always do this to improve the lives, improve businesses, improve our communities, and drive economic transformation, economic advancement. Um, I hope I contributed. May natutunan kayo kahit papano with what I've shared. And if you have any question, pwede nyo i-chat, pwede rin nyo rin sabihin, or meron kayong comment sa presentation, please feel free to comment.
Thank you so much, Miss Gratuito, Ma'am Tati, for that presentation. So just to for the class, 'di ba, we were tama si Miss Tati, innovation doesn't have to be something grand. We've learned, 'di ba, on the first module that innovation before was defined to be something of na novel siya. But later on, the definition has evolved through time. And sabi nga ni Miss Tati, innovation doesn't have to be grand. It could be something of an improvement. And we've also tackled about yung sabi ni Miss Tati, it's not really a lack of funding. And as I have shown you during our initial video before Miss Tati presented, that the budget is there. Minsan nga underspending, hindi minsan. The reality is the government is underspending. So the money is just there.
Tandaan nyo, may 1 billion fund ang na binigay sa innovation activities ng Pilipinas through the Philippine Innovation Act. So 1 billion ang nasa batas. So madami kayong resources na
And
pwedeng gamitin.
tama po. At yes po, Miss Tati. That's a very insightful information. And to show po, baka sinasabi niyo, we're just students. Those are, in example niyo is mga engineers na, well, di ba sabi ni Miss Tati, we have Iliganized then, aside in Iligan. So there was there, if you could remember Miss Tati Galansiang, he was a student, graduating student rin. And he was able to develop a startup which has won uh, a lot of awards. He was a student. He is a student rather. He's still a student and doing that study po. So right at this age and point, age is not age is just a number. And if
Yes.
you have very great ideas, as I have said, as presented also by Miss Tatina, if you have this great idea, you think that is very that could make an impact. We have an existing ecosystem. Sabi nga ni Miss Tati, there's an existing ecosystem of which that you could go. If you want to develop your idea, meron tayong mga incubation centers here in the region. Diba?
Yes.
So one here in Cagayan and another in uh,
Iligan.
Iligan, and also some for agriculture, meron sila dun sa Bukidnon. So it's the government, the industry and academic ecosystem is there for your ideas to be developed. So 'di ba, as pinakita ni Miss Tati na Miss Gratuito in her presentation, that with this ecosystem in place, how can we contribute? So, di ba, the Philippines, we need engineers, we need scientists. Your studies, Miss Tati, these are civil and chemical engineering students. So, there's, yung iba is about transportation, very, very relevant. Flood, disaster management, very, very relevant for the cheming students. Product addition or product value addition of products, development of the waste products. These are very relevant concepts or studies. So if you want to pursue more on that, the government is there. May funding po. If not with the government, meron pong iba't ibang mga institution here in the Philippines or even abroad of which you can cater. They can cater with your needs po. So tama po ba? We need more brain powers. So yun nga, it's not really, the ecosystem is already there for your ideas. And isa
If
nga
you
sa
have
mga,
any ideas, maraming startup incubators available. Una na yung technology business incubators, TBI na meron sa regions. And meron tayong Cubo, ang DTI. Pwede, if you will, kung meron kayong idea, you can apply your idea so that they can help you grow your startup. Meron din ang AIM. This is funded by the OST. Meron din silang technology business incubator. Actually, I can send Nash parang a list of
sige,
these resources that you can utilize, and we really encourage you to try, 'di ba? Wala namang mawawala. Malay mo, you're the next Grab, you're the next Lazada, you're the next Food Panda. We'll never know, 'di ba? Unless we
and
try.
yes po. And just to note, just to add on that po, yung sabi nga ni Miss Tati, startup doesn't have to be always about AI or IT. It doesn't have to be always like that. So your ideas are welcome. So that's why, Miss Tati, just to give context, we are also preparing to do some pitching. At least they will be introduced to how a pitch is done. So once you have this idea, you apply. Later on, you would be able to. You will be required to pitch. So we'll also go through it and how you could develop. So there are no right or wrong pitches, but there are things that needs the basics so that you could deliver your message properly. So again, uh, nag talk show kami ni Tati rito. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions or clarifications or concerns, feel free. The floor is open now for your comments, questions.
Or if meron na kayong business idea, you want us to link with an incubator, I'm
Oo.
very much willing to link you with one.
Yung just to give an idea, Miss Tati, yung iba, as I have said earlier, yung sa mga civil engineers natin rito is they'd like to address traffic. They'd like to address disaster management. they'd like to address yung flood, they'd like to address yung how do we maintain these old structures that's part of our culture. Yung iba naman po yung some chemical engineering students here are trying to develop vinegar out of waste bananas. Yung iba po is they're trying to find a solution yung sa for fishing communities natin na walang masyadong access to renewable to water. So we have studies like that. So maybe Miss Tati is here po to give insights if you, as I have said, 'di ba? As I have required of last time, ano yung mga concern niyo? I've seen there na may gustong kailangan ng assistance sa testing. Yung iba is gusto ng assistance for a potential na expert. So I this is the venue for your questions. We have a very great resource speaker here who could provide you with inputs.
For testing or laboratory testing, I know
Yung
that there's available a DOST has the regional standards and testing laboratory. You can reach out to DOST Region 10. Compared to other facilities, they offer friendly rates, and yeah, it's something that you can explore. Tapos yun nga, if you have business ideas, please go to your
okay.
TBI's incubation centers. Ay, eto may tanong. What do they do and how do they help? TBIs, Technology Business Incubators. It's like a one-stop shop to help startups and new entrepreneurs. No? So they offer, mostly they offer parang, I think pre-pandemic, some of them offer an office space, no? So meron din silang business services, so yung mga internet, printing, yung ginagamit nyo for operations. They also offer mentoring services to the upcoming entrepreneurs. Kasi as you know, if you are to apply for a government grant, you can just apply. No? So you have to prepare a bunch of things. May proposal kayong i-develop, kailangan in place yung business model ninyo, etc. So in the incubation centers, they train you, they teach you how to do that. They also These incubation centers can also link you to potential partners that can help you grow your business. Technology, kasi it's also based in the university. I think they can also depende din, meron kasing TBIs na meron silang expertise. For example, sa sa Zamboanga, they focus on agribusinesses. So, yung mga trainings, resources, they can link you to that. And mentorship, business mentorship and coaching. So, yeah, yun yung mga some of the services that they offer aside from the office space and business service. Katulad nga ng mga printing, internet, co-working space, mga ganyan.
Just to add, Miss Tati, for those who are into Korean novela, yung sa startup na K-drama, that's an example of a TBI. So, dito sa Cagayan de Oro, we have one. It's CDO Bytes. And in Iligan, we have IDEA. And in IDEA, yes. And in Bukidnon, we have, I forgot the name, but they're also focused on agri. So, sabi nga ni Miss Tati, these areas, aside from helping you incubate your ideas into products, models, or services, they also provide, yes, commercialization as well po. They also provide you with, yun nga, spaces, parang office talaga. So they provide you, aside from the mentorship, they provide you with a physical area where you can work. That's funding is also provided for that. So that's just to
May
expand
follow-up
on what.
question si Princess. I think wala naman, pero mostly they incubate startups sa CDO Bytes and sa IDEA. So, mostly itong startups na to ay technology-based. Example nito ay, I think si Dirtbag Nash, no? Very niche naman to, yung business nito. Si Dirtbag ay, they cater for laundry services. So, pick up, drop off ng laundry. So, meron silang mga partners na mga laundry shops. Tas, sila na lang yung kinokontak ng mga customers para sila na lang yung magdala ng ano. So, yeah, they incubate. Mostly, ang kanilang customers or incubatees ngayon ay startups. But I guess if you have another business idea, there's no harm coming kumbaga sa ano nila sa office nila for support kasi I'm sure they'll be more than glad to help you grow your idea into a business and a commercial service or product.
Just to expand on that, Miss Tati, because some of the graduates of CDO Bytes are our clients in at Orobest. So, yung isa is they're on learning management system. So, yung isa is, sabi nga na Miss Tati, Dirtbag. It's the Uber of laundry. So, I've shared the link. Maybe you can look into it in the chat box. So, meron ding isa naman na, I don't know, you've heard about Street Buy. You've heard about uh, I'm not sure if you heard about Ihatid. So these are startups who were incubated sa CDO Bytes. And yun nga, it's not just limited to that. We also have a client, it's a community wireless. They're into communication, providing internet services to areas wherein hindi pa nasa-servisyuhan ng ating mga service providers. So, uh, from what I know, si CDO Bytes is hindi siya masyadong may niche unlike sa iba na agriculture lang or yung focus nila. But it has also to do with the funding kasi yung sa Bukidnon ang nag-fund sa kanila is PICARD, yung Philippine Council for Agriculture. So their focus is on agriculture. Ito naman si CDO Vice, I think the funder is PSHERD. So it's Philippine Council for Energy and Emerging Technologies. So it actually depends on the funder. So what we have now in the Philippines are usually government funded na mga incubators, pero outside the country meron na pong mga private na providers ng or ng TBI or Technology Business Incubator gaya nung sa movie yung sa startup na K-drama. So again, if you have ideas here, at least here in CDO, you could go to CDO Bytes. Their office is in USTP building, so you could actually go to them, help develop your ideas. So yeah, meron pa po bang follow-up questions or comments from the team for Miss Tati?
None so far.
None so far. Parang nagugutom na sila Miss Tati.
If you're interested to know more about IDEA and Sido Bytes, I sent some links in the chat box. You can check it out.
Sige po. Okay, just to summarize some points as to what Miss Tati mentioned. So yung government industry academe ecosystem is there to for you to hindi naman abuse, for you to use or for you to utilize. So this is ni uh, our government is doing. So assisted pa siya ng government, but later on we as the ecosystem is being developed, so maybe later on, Miss Tati, a year or 2 years from, we'll see technology business incubators na privately led na. So we'll never know. So the ecosystem is there. So again, we are encouraging everyone, if you have brilliant ideas, feel Miss Tati would provide us with siguro a document on where you can go. So you're on the
Actually,
right
Nash,
track.
if you will review, meron yung mapping database that I shared with Orobest.
Okay, sige po.
You'll
I'll look
see
into it.
the programs there. Nandun
Mm,
naka-group na siya into incubators, group
yeah.
government, etc.
Oh, tama, tama. So just to add, yung map na yon, 'di ba? If you need something, you could just go to that website or site to see where you could possibly go. So if you need funding, maybe you could go, you look into this database, alam mo na ang list of where you go. So I will share that to you, to the class, for your
Also, if
consumption.
if available na publicly kapag ka na-publish na yung innovation guidebook kasi from ano yun, idea to commercialization.
Yeah,
Pwede
the guidebook.
nilang para siyang step-by-step guide. So, it may be useful na roadmap nila when starting a business idea.
Okay po. And thank you for that, Miss Tati. So I think that ends our Q&A. So if you have questions or clarifications, just send me an email and I'll forward it to Miss Tati. And also for this class, I have sent in the chat box. This is just a feedback form. This will form as your seat work. So the link is also provided on your e-learn. So feel free to answer this form so that we would know your comments or suggestions. And maybe may mga topics pa kayong gustong ma-discuss. Kapihan session naman. So even outside class, we can have kapihan session with Miss Tati. So ay hindi pa kapihan or tea session kasi si Miss Tati di na nagkakape. So sige po, before we formally end, may I request everyone to, if it's feasible, to turn on your camera para makuha tayo ng screenshot for this session po. So requesting everyone to please turn on your camera. So let's just wait for a few of your classmates to turn on their camera. I think this is okay. So may I get a thumbs up from everyone for this session? Thumbs up po tayo. Sige po, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. Miss Tati, thank you very much for sharing to us about the
Salamat!
driving innovation, the government, industry, and academe ecosystem. So for tomorrow, same time po, we'll have si Miss Jill naman po, Miss Tati will be sharing her story on Saliksik. So it's more on curating your research. So we've already introduced to you the government, industry, and academic ecosystem. Tomorrow, you will see how that ecosystem has led to a startup named Saliksik. So Miss Engineer Jill Manapat will be sharing her story to everyone. So if you can make it, the link is available on your e-learn. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for this session and see you tomorrow night. So may I request Mr. Clark to please lead us into our closing prayer.